We're in the beginning of a new medium, virtual reality. In this episode, we look back to the beginning of film when most of the people exploring that new medium either came from technology or from theater. There's much to be learned from those early film days about what shit does matter and what shit doesn't. Did you know that Thomas Edison started one of the first film studios? Hi, I'm Crystal Beasley, and you're watching Embodied Reality. What we call this medium falls squarely in the category of shit that doesn't matter. Early film pioneers didn't know what to call what they were doing either. Edison called his movies kinetographs. Kineto meaning motion and graph meaning picture. That was way too fancy of a word to ever stick, Thomas. Motion picture. That's the old-fashioned word for what we now call a movie. Move-E. Movie. It's called a movie because movies move and theater doesn't. Motion was the defining new characteristic of this medium. So don't stress about what we call this VR thing. It's not augmented, mixed, or virtual. And it's not reality either. Let's talk about more of the shit that does matter. The first film was a recreation of vaudeville theater. It took them a few years to realize the full potential of camera and editing. The biggest thing that the pioneering techies and theater stars initially missed was the ability to move the camera. It seems really obvious to us now, but it wasn't then. Because in a theater, you can't move the camera, because there is no camera. The audience sits watching the stage, so naturally the first film started with that metaphor. They placed the camera in the best seat in the house, with the frame of the film just like the frame of the curtains around the stage. The ability to move the camera became the defining word for the new medium. We still call them movies because they move. So the obvious question for us is what's VR's equivalent of figuring out that we can move the camera? VR's defining characteristics are presence and interactivity. That's the shit that actually matters. Let's take them one at a time. Presence. Presence, presence, presence. Everybody's talking about presence, and for good reason. We've never before had a medium which could so thoroughly and quickly convince our brain to remap its wiring. As builders of these new worlds, we're constructing new bodies for our users. Too many current games use our hands as hands. It's not very imaginative. I don't want to flip pancakes with my hands picking up a skillet. I want my whole arm to be a skillet. I don't want a hand at all. Presence is also deeply exciting in its ability to enlist the whole body as a controller.
You're an insane power mad fiend!
You, as the builder of the experience, can induce targeted emotions in your player. Want them to feel competitive and euphoric? Have them use a fist gesture. Check out our episode on Body as VR Controller, linked in the show notes. I could talk about this forever, and there are so many possibilities of what to do with present that we don't have time to cover them all here. So let's move on. The next thing in the category of shit that doesn't matter. Linear storytelling. Oh my god, how are we gonna do this? They don't know how to direct the viewer's attention. Oh, wait a second. Did you hear the keyword in that last sentence? They don't know how to direct the viewer's attention. Viewer. That's the problem word. You don't have viewers in VR. You have players. Oh my gosh. Everybody's freaking out about not being able to tell a linear story with VR. The answer? You're not. You're going to use interactivity.
Very simple, even for you.
Trying to drag your players around by a nose ring is just not going to work. Look at the techniques used in gaming for best practices.
All right, pop open the cartridge slot there on the desk.
It's on the desk!
Pop it open, push down on it, and it will pop open.
It will pop open!
Pop open the cartridge slot.
It'll pop out!
There might be some things on the table, but you can move it all off. You can figure that fucking out.
Games are not trying to tell a linear story. They succeed by designing for interaction. They create a world, a culture, a mood, and incentives for what behavior they want to encourage, and then let players make of it what they will. There's other places to look for inspiration as well. 3 fields whose job it is to design compelling real-world experiences. Theme parks, walking and museum tours, and immersive theater. We're going to cover each of these in depth in future episodes, so look in the show notes for links. But first, let's talk about monsters. The poster for the first Frankenstein had Edison kinetograph in huge ornate letters. Oh, hey, it happens to be a story about a monster. The sentiment was, come see this thing called a motion picture. People had never seen a movie, so the novelty alone was enough reason to hitch up your wagon and go into town. Then as now, the novelty was the technology. In 1937, the Frankenstein monster you know and love was featured large and in charge on the poster. By then, audiences weren't coming out to wonder at the technical achievement of a motion picture, but to see a great story.
Who are you? I'm Maria. Will you play with me?
Oh, hey, I gotta show you this Japanese version of the poster because it's amazing. Today, it's enough to say, come out and see the VR demo with scant mention of what content they're gonna be experiencing. But that moment isn't gonna last much longer. As hardware and tool development settles down, the quality of the experience is going to be what gets the eyeballs. If you don't have compelling content, you're not gonna get people to click download. Another thing that falls in the category of shit that doesn't matter. What the most perfect hardware, software, and platform to develop for. If that slows you down from making compelling experiences, it's not worth it. Pick something that works for your situation and budget and just get going. It doesn't matter which river you get in. Go get your feet wet. Hell, dunk yourself all the way in. Baptize thyself in the waters of VR. Don't let the shit that doesn't matter, what we call this new medium, which hardware and tools to use, or trying to drag your player through a perfectly linear storyline, don't let that get in the way of the shit that does matter. Get started and try lots of things. The watchword is action. Create experiences that take full advantage of presence and interactivity. Pick up your little cursor and hit the red subscribe button to get a nice little note when I publish new episodes. Please leave me a comment or hit me up on Twitter and tell me what experiences you're building using these principles. I'd love to feature your work on the show. Check out the show notes to resources and related episodes. See you next time. I'm Crystal Beasley.
Never mind the crystal. We've got bigger problems.
And you've been watching Embodied Reality.
Everything's okay, I'm just trying to act my age.
Must we get up so early just to program a computer?
Yes, Shredder. While our enemies sleep, we are waiting.